for me to talk about what you're doing. I'm so excited to talk to you. Please tell us about you.
Yes, I'm Francesca Raimondi. I'm a violin teacher from Italy, and I teach very young and special needs students. My studio is called Music is Joy because I think music must be a joy for everyone. And I think every child can play and can learn an instrument, even if he has some issues or even if he is very, very young, up to since 2 years old and up. And yeah, I've started teaching when I was 16 because I've always loved teaching and I've always loved working with children. That's why when I was 19, I started working as a special educator with special needs students. And since then, I've always worked as an educator and as a teacher in lots of context in school and families and for lots of association of special needs children and genetic syndrome and autism and lots of special needs situations. Then I started playing violin and I had my final degree in violin in 2009. At the same time, I was studying children's psychology and I became a children's psychologist in 2010. Then I started thinking about putting all these things together because I've started teaching violin and I saw really every child could learn. And also teaching violin was a tool to help children growing and becoming better person. So I yes. Then when I was a bit older, I started learning ABA, which is applied behavior analysis, which is the science of behavior, which tells us how behavior works and how learning works. So I started applying it to violin teaching. And I started creating my own method, which is quite effective. Now I have 50 students and all of them learn violin.
That's amazing. That's a lot of kids, and that's must be amazing for your community to have you as a resource for these families. I'm sure that you're a treasure in this community.
I hope so.
Tell me about the parents. Like what do you do to facilitate the relationships that you have with the families of your students?
Well, I really work a lot with parents because I think as a Suzuki teacher that the triangle between teacher and parent and the child is really the key. That's why I invite my students' parents in my studio to have chats with me and to tell me their issues and their strengths. And I try to reinforce a lot when I work with children and to make them feel really understood as parents and as educators of their children. Then I also have contact with them during all the week because I see my students once a week, but I see their parents almost every day because they
Ooh.
write me messages on
Oh,
WhatsApp and
mhm.
on Skype and on Facebook. So they have contact with me, because if they also need some help to educate their children, or to make them practice, or to work with them, I just offer them my free help as a psychologist as well. Which is, yeah, it's really a lot of time to put on this project, because I really had 50 families, which is not very hard, not very easy to do, but it does.
Mhm.
And I've studied some strategies to speak with them as well, some psychological strategies, and they do work. They are based on empathy and on making a person feel, yes, understood, and really feel their emotions, because the
Mhm.
psychological and emotional aspects are really important in speaking to people, and especially in students, in speaking with students' parents. It really helps
I
a lot.
really I
Yes.
second that so much. I remember when I mean, when I had younger students in primary school, that there was such an important aspect to listening. I mean, you didn't always want to hear some of the things that they have to say. Honestly, it's difficult. And sometimes I wanted to react, but I didn't. And the main thing is to listen and for me, it was to let the parents express their emotion or their need, or something is wrong. It's okay. It's just to hear that, and you don't have to respond immediately. It's better to hear if they feel heard, then you'll be
Yes.
able to
Yeah,
move with the situation
because
and help
listening
them.
to people is actually one of the most important things, both in teaching and in learning. Last year, I had this wonderful child who was 3. Now she's 4, and she's one of my best students actually. And last year she was 3, and after an orchestra rehearsal, she said, "Today I've learned this really important thing, which is listening." Because, yeah, she really understood the key of all our work together, which was listening to music and to people and to friends. And she was just 3. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. There are people that are 53 and
Didn't listen.
didn't learn this or experience this or grasp this. So
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I really believe in our work that one of the really important aspects of our work is that it helps people learn how to listen.
Yes, yes, really. And the other really important thing, it's positive reinforcement. In ABA, we work a lot on motivation and on reinforcing people and their behaviors. So I try to find what a child loves in his life, which can be toys or cartoons or candies or or I mean um, jumping or dancing, and I use these things to motivate them towards violin. It's actually called conditioning, which may seem a bad thing, but it's not. It's just an association between two things, between one thing you already love and one new thing, which in this case is violin. And you just have to put these two things together, and violin will become something you love. This is conditioning, and it really helps a lot to motivate children towards playing and practicing and towards violin. Because some autistic children are also, they have some sensorial issues, so they may not accept violin in the first place. So if you put violin on their shoulder, they may not want it for sensorial reasons. So you have to make this association between violin and between something they already love, and then they will accept violin, and it became much easier to teach them. This is one of the easiest, not easiest, most important tools I use with my students.
Do you do any pre-violin activities or motion activities? It's one of the things I learned in the last few years when I was teaching in Germany, and I was asked to teach very young children. I had a boy who was 3, and I didn't really have prior experience, but I learned some pre-violin motions to teach the child. I was just wondering if you integrate some of that into your teaching, or do you start with the violin right away when you have a young child?
Well, some years ago, I used to start just by pre-instrumental activities. Because in Italy, and also in some other European countries, there is this pre-instrumental program, which is called Children's Music Laboratory. It has been created by an Italian piano teacher. She's Elena Enrico, and she's a great teacher and a great trainer as well. I've had this course with her back in 2011 up to 2013, and I had the specialization as well as a children music laboratory teacher. It's a great program because it is based on Suzuki method, and it has lots of exercises and pre-instrumental activities and songs based on Suzuki pieces, and harmony and rhythmical activities, because it's for very, very young children. There is also a program for children who are 6 months. Not really, I used it with 6 months, but 1 year up to 3 years old. And learn, and these children learn how to play violin by doing pre-instrumental activities and motor skills activities and brain coordination and gross motor function activities and something like that. So it's really useful. Now I'm starting children right from the start with the violin, but just since I became a Suzuki teacher since last year. But I didn't use it. And so now I work both on pre-instrumental and violin activities during the same lesson right from the start, which is really great. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, let's see. I was going to ask you something, and now I lost my train of thought. I'm going to have to edit this out.
No problem.
What was that? Oh, I know. I think that the idea of teaching children who have, some kind of physical challenge or whatever, some special need of some sort, I think that for some teachers that it's something that they have never considered to teach children with special needs. What would you say to teachers that have maybe just, it's a new idea for them and they haven't got the courage to take on teaching a child with special needs?
Well, here in Italy, this is a really big issue because there are few teachers wanting to teach special needs children. They sometimes do music therapy, which is a really different thing, and there are really few teachers wanting to try this thing. Maybe I've been in UK and in New York some years ago, and in Germany, and in lots of other countries, and there are way more teachers wanting to try this. So I say to them, first, you don't have to be scared of approaching special needs children. because they are, first of all, children, like everyone else, and special needs are just features. So it's not so hard to teach them, but I think the first thing they need is study, it's competence, it's skills, because common sense thinks that to teach special needs children you need love. Well, this is not true. You need love for your work, but you need skills because it's not an easy thing to do. Maybe it's a thing. You have the motivation. You have to have the motivation to do it, but it's not enough. Love, it's not enough. You have to study. You have to really have a strong background on psychology and behavioral analysis, which is the most important tool you can have to teach special needs children. And you have to have a lot of experience in this field. It's not something you can just try, because otherwise you can be not successful in this and lost, and you may lose the motivation towards it. It's so it's I don't want to discourage teacher because I think once you've tried, you fall in love with that work, but you have to prepare yourself to really have strategies and competence and skills. That's the most important thing. That's why I've been studying since I was 17, 18 for this work. And I'm still studying. I'm still searching and creating a method and, yes, looking for strategies and something to learn. It's really something you never have enough skills for.
That's what I feel like is true for our profession in general, that, you know, we're if we are really dedicated to our teaching, we are dedicated to learning for our entire careers.
Yes.
There's never a point when we can stop.
No,
It must be ongoing.
yes, you always have to learn and you always can get better and better. This thing you were asking me before when we met before this talk was if I changed my working method throughout the years. Well, I changed it a lot because I started with a close to music therapy method, but throughout the years, I've gained more competence in, yes, behavioral approach and psychology and violin teaching and violin tools, because I also did a postgraduate certificate in violin teaching in UK last year. So I really had much more skills. And when I started teaching, I really tried this and that. I wasn't really focused. I really didn't know how to find my own voice as a teacher and my own way. So I've changed a lot. And to be honest, I feel a bit ashamed of how I used to teach before because I've changed so much. I'm a different person now, different teacher, completely. Yes.
But that's also a natural progression as a good teacher, to refine and improve. And
Yes. Yes, it's natural.
you didn't know what you didn't know at that time, so you shouldn't feel ashamed. I'm sure you
You're
should.
right.
I think we should
But I
accept.
should.
We all have to accept our naive past, because when we were in that stage, we didn't know what we didn't know.
Yes. Yeah, certainly my past helped me to become who I am now. So
Right.
yeah, I'm also grateful to it.
That's
Yes.
good.
I've also written a book about my first experiences as a special educator. And I hate that book because there are really old things inside of it, which I don't feel uh, I'm inside of them now. I don't agree with us I've written, but it's my past. Yeah, it was
We
a
all have, as teachers, I know we've all made mistakes when, especially when we were young. I mean, we will always make mistakes, but I remember when I was quite young and teaching as well. And yeah, it's hard for me to even think about those times.
yes, yes. It's quite embarrassing because you did lots of things you never do now.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it has been useful anyway because I really learned lots of things. Yeah, I
Mhm.
learned a lot.
It's like we must pay our dues getting through the first years of our teaching.
Yes. Yes.
Can you just tell me one like unexpected thing that you have gotten from your career teaching these special needs children?
Unexpected. Um, where you want to know what I learned from it, or you want to know an episode of my teaching.
Whichever you would like to talk about.
Well, I've learned how to deal with my own emotions because when I started, I was really driven by my emotions and I couldn't handle with them. When I felt sad or angry or embarrassed or frightened, I really was um, overwhelmed by them. So I lost my brain. And maybe when I came back home, I started crying because I felt I hadn't done enough for some of my students. But working and working throughout the years, I've learned how to be in control of my emotions. So I can be, and I am, a sympathetic person and an empathic person, but with a frame of control, which is a really important thing because you can, you can't be overwhelmed by what you are doing, but you have to keep yourself in control to help the others and to be really effective as a teacher. Otherwise, you want to be really effective. That's why children parents find it quite difficult to work with their students, with what their children at home, because they can lose control over their emotions being parents, and that's
Mhm.
a right thing. I mean, it's not a bad thing for a parent. It's right for them, but I mean, not for a teacher because it's really important to be in control all the time. Yeah. And in my course, when I will teach other teachers, I will help them to learn these things. So to be more rational in a way, even if you have to be empathic and to love what you do and to really be close to your student as a person and feel what they feel, but in a rational way. I know it's a really hard thing, but I've learned it in all those years. And I'd like to teach this to other people.
would you like to tell me about the orchestra that you teach?
Yes, I have this group of children which is composed by 30 students from 3 years old up to 9, 10 this year, and they are both children with and without special needs. It's a group where inclusion and friendship are the most important tools and things, because all the children are really friends and play together, and as a group, as a real orchestra, even if they are just violins. And we go all over the world, not really the world, but we've been with some students in Spain, in Germany, in Belgium, and we were planning to go to UK, but we couldn't due to COVID. And we play as a real group, and they love it. They are really all friends, and they help each other. I'm working with cooperative learning to help them how to know how to be a real group and a cohesive group, and they love this experience. And I believe it will be really important even when they will be adults. It, it really stay. It really will stay in their minds and in their hearts their whole life.
I'm sure it will. I know that the skills that we teach transfer into their future selves, no matter what they do, whether they stay with music or not. It's something that will totally enrich their lives
Yes,
forever.
yes, yes. They are really learning lots of skills for their future life, like listening to the others and helping each other and be kind to each other and discipline, perseverance,
Hmm.
and yes, strength. And it's really important because today uh, lots of people want to have everything now and they can't wait. And these children can wait and can postpone gratifications and deal with frustrations, which is really an important skill for their life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Mm.
It teaches so many values that children may or may not get elsewhere. So it's something that they should be able to treasure forever.
Yeah, it's a great gift for them, and it's a great gift their parents give to them, even if it
Hmm.
can be hard or challenging, even if it can be, yeah, a tough and hard pathway, but it's worth it. It's worth all of that.
Well, thank you so much, Francesca. I think that we'll conclude the interview with that positive note. I really appreciate your taking the time to share your story and your studio and your background and everything that you're doing to improve teaching for children with special needs.
Thank
It
you
really
so
means a lot.
much. It's been a pleasure, really. Thank you. Okay.
So I just stopped the recording,
Yeah.
but